And that is also what Sara Paul is doing. She's one of the founding members of WatchDuty. She's a certified wildfire mitigation manager. She's a GMRS radio user. Wow. And she holds various FEMA certifications. Currently, she serves on the board of the Monte Rio Fire Protection District and the Safer West County in Sonoma. So she started reporting on wildfires in 2017 and joined WatchDuty in the summer of 2021, right after the 2 fires we had in 2020, and is honored to play a role in emergency communications and community awareness. Please welcome Sara Paul.
Hello, hello. Thank you all for coming out. What an amazing turnout. I feel very, very honored to be here. I wanted to give a quick shout out to Judy and to Jeff and to my new friends from this morning who have made me feel so welcome here. Amazing background coordination to make your speaker series happen. I'm really, really honored to be a part of it. Thank you so much. I'm going to talk we're going to say half an hour, but we don't entirely know. Questions at the end, although if you need to sneak in a question, you can do it. I want to just say WatchDuty is one of the many tools in your toolbox. So I'm going to talk primarily about that, but think about all the other things that we would like you to have as a prepared member of the Sonoma County community. Nixle and SoCo alerts are things you also should be signing up for, and happy to talk about that a little bit more too. All right, so what is WatchDuty? I think you all know that we are a free emergency alerting service that provides real-time safety information for wildfires across the American West. My role within WatchDuty is I lead our community engagement activities. I do a lot of mentoring for our staff, and then I'm also a reporter. As mentioned, I'm on the board of Safer West County, which is an organization that started first looking at fire, but now we're really looking at evacuation routes and other challenges that we have here in Sonoma County. I split my time between Sonoma County and Alameda County, and I am way out in Monte Rio, which is far from here, full of trees and full of narrow roads, all the things that we love about this county, but also make evacuations challenging. So my first evacuation was actually the Oakland Hills fire in, what was that? 91, I think it was 91. And I started fire reporting during the Tubbs fire in 2017. And you all remember that fateful Sunday night. It was not a lot of information out there. I learned about the fire from a friend on Facebook. She lived up in the Pepper Ridge Preserve with her family, and she said, "Hey, there's an orange glow in the distance." I was like, "That's weird. I don't see what she got." And she goes, "All right, we're packing. No one's told them to evacuate." And she goes, "All right, we're out." And of course, they lost their house, shortly thereafter. But it was such a confusing time, those first few days of the Tubbs fire, as many of us remember. And so I started a Facebook page at that point because it was easy to do, and I started basically reporting about resources available to people who'd been evacuated. That was where it started. And then it morphed shortly thereafter to talking about new fire starts in Sonoma County. And, back in those days, you smell a neighbor's barbecue and you look around and you think, oh, it's just their barbecue. But it was, it was very stressful for, I would say, a couple of years. So I maintain my little Facebook page, and it's got, I don't know, probably 20,000 people on it at this point. But social media is the worst place to be reporting a fire because you're just stuck with whatever algorithm that Mark Zuckerberg or whoever else wants to throw at you. So that fire information might be buried under some cat pictures or, an informal movie review. You don't know where that fire information is going to be. So let's fast forward to 2020. The Walbridge fire came through Sonoma County. And at this point, Sonoma County has gotten much better about educating people and much better about evacuations. We all learned that lesson. So now Walbridge comes through, they're evacuating pretty much everyone in West County. Everyone gets to go to Bodega Bay, get out, go. So Monte Rio was evacuated. Healdsburg was evacuated. And I mentioned Healdsburg because a gentleman by the name of John Clark Mills, a retired tech guy, had recently moved up to Sweetwater Springs Road, west of Healdsburg, pretty rural, off-grid. and he'd bought this big ranch, and Cal Fire said, get out. You got to go. Sheriff came through, go. So he evacuates, and he's paying attention to the Cal Fire has a 7 a.m. and a 7 p.m. update and nothing in between. And he's a tech guy, and he's antsy, and he's type A, and he's just like, why is there no information? And then he turned to the internet, and he found people like me. He found, like, wow, this woman sitting on her couch somewhere is giving me heat signatures that tells me my ranch is still intact. And there were about 6 or 7 of us that were helpful to him at that point in time. And it just bugged him. He moved home. There was no issue with his ranch. But he moved home, and all winter, he was just being annoyed by the fact that the information sources were so, it just didn't make sense that he wasn't getting official information. So he learned a little bit about fire behavior, started to go meet some of the firefighters in northern Sonoma County where he was, and then said, well, gosh, maybe I could do something. And he reached out to a friend of his from the tech industry, a guy who used to work for him, and said, can we frame something out? Can we frame out an app? And lo and behold, they started framing out WatchDuty in May of 2021. And then around the middle of the summer, he started reaching out to those people who were helpful during his fire incident. And I happened to be one of the 6 that brought on board as our initial reporters. We didn't call ourselves reporters back then, but that's essentially what we were doing. And we were all listening to our scanners and annoying our spouses by listening to our scanners. It became, the first days of WatchDuty, it was just a grand experiment. We flipped the switch for Lake, Napa, and Sonoma County in August 11th of 2021. And then we added Mendocino about a month later because there was a big fire up there. And then we had a quiet winter where we brought in a few more people. We said, okay, let's see where we can go with this. So we wanted to go California-wide. So we reached out to people who we knew were reporting on fires on social media primarily. It was, people who were on Twitter, other people on Facebook, other people who were they were already doing this. We said, would you join us? Join our posse of people. And then we flipped the switch for all of California in June of 2022. And then in the winter, we did more refinement and more updates and such. And then May of 2023, we expanded even further. We went to 11 Western states. And that was a big deal because we had to pull in more people and pull in and pull in. And we weren't necessarily being received well by all the people we were trying to pull in. Turns out there's some people that manage Facebook groups that are very, very possessive about their fire information, and the idea that a bunch of strangers from California were coming in to tell them how to share information with their communities, that didn't go well. But eventually we got a really amazing group of reporters and volunteers to join us. And at the moment, we have about 11 million users. We're in 1,500 counties across 22 states. So pretty much everything west of Mississippi. And it all started here. So thank you, Sonoma County, for the big welcome. We were fortunate in those early days because all the people, the first 6 of us all had social media pages. So we could kind of get the word out. Try this app. It's free. What do you got to lose? So thank you for you early adopters who tried the app. We now have about 300 volunteers behind the scenes. Of those volunteers, we have active and retired firefighters. We have active and retired dispatchers. We have other first responders. We have sheriffs, and we have radio nerds. That would be people that willingly listen to a scanner. And then we have folks who are just concerned about their community, people who just want to make sure their friends and neighbors get information they need. I was in the corporate world for 30 some odd years, and the passion that I did a lot of hiring, but the passion that people bring to WatchDuty is something totally different than what I ever saw in the corporate world. I mean, people are so here for their hearts, and it's really, really amazing. Of those 300 or so volunteers, we have about 20 who are actually paid staff. It's a very small number, and that number has grown up recently, and in a minute, I'll tell you why that number has gone up. But our reporters and our volunteers, everyone starts with what we call a contributor. A contributor is someone who is gathering official information for fires. That might come from the scanner. It might come from some other radio feed. It might be come in through a wildfire camera. I mean, there's lots of different signals that we look for, and we call it scraping. We go out and we scrape pulse point sourcing. I don't know if anyone knows about Pulse Point. Pulse Point is a dispatching app, and not every county can afford Pulse Point, but you can subscribe to it on your phone. If you want to know why there's sirens in Sonoma County and it's not a fire, put Pulse Point on your phone, and you can, oh, it's a traffic collision. But there are a number of fire signals that we track down. One, for instance, if CHP responds to something, in their notes, it'll say, roadside fire, or it'll say something. So like we just scrape all this information. All that information comes into what we call our communications system, which is it's called Slack, which is just a way we communicate amongst each other. And then as soon as we get a signal that there's a fire, it could also come from a wildfire camera, then someone has to go research, is it truly a fire? Do you see a smoke column? We want verification it's really a fire and not, a neighbor Bob's barbecue. So that's when the team gets busy, and the volunteers, the contributors, everyone just said, okay, is it a fire? Is it a fire? Okay, yes, it's really a fire. Then we will, and if it's a very noticeable smoke column, okay, we're going to get an alert out. But if it's not, and we want to wait for someone to be on scene, like we love to get that initial report on conditions from someone who is actively on scene. So that's important to us to make sure to verify. Jeff, could we have video number 1, please? Here, I'll talk. So this is going to tell you a little bit about how we operate and how we gather information about fires.
What's your emergency?
A 911 dispatch center receives a call about a vegetation fire. Our automated monitoring system hears that 911 dispatch and alerts our team in our internal messaging tool, Slack. All available WatchDuty reporters in that region begin monitoring their radio scanners, wildfire cameras, satellites, and other public sources such as official announcements from law enforcement and fire services. The team vets all available information and waits for on-scene personnel to give an official report on conditions. If there is a threat to life or property, we will notify the affected public via the WatchDuty app. Our reporters follow a strict code of conduct when notifying the public. Reporters will continually monitor the incident and update the public along the way until the fire is extinguished or no longer a threat to life or property. Stay safe from wildfires when seconds count. Download the free WatchDuty app today.
So that gives you a little, sense as to how it's all happening. Information's coming through, we're following up on it, and it's always a live human that is putting out a report. We do not use AI or anything like that to we might use AI to gather information, but there's always a live reporter on the backside. We have a lot of amazing volunteers, and to become a volunteer within WatchDuty, people apply, they send us a little narrative about themselves as to why they might want to join us. They have a panel interview, and if they happen to pass that, then we put them through a little background check. Then that all still going well, we would then send them a signed volunteer agreement to sign. One of the most critical things about our volunteer agreement is our code of conduct. And that's really at the heart of all things WatchDuty. Our code of conduct is no hearsay, only official information. And that also means if you can see where the fire is, that's great. But unless it came from an official source, I don't care what you could see. We have people say, oh, I live at the top of a mountain. No. I want to know official information only. No opinion. We don't let people editorialize or sensationalize any fire information. We don't include any names, like we would never mention a battalion chief by name. We would never mention someone impacted by fire by name. We never use full addresses. You'll see, well, the fire is on 600 block of Oakmont Drive. It will not say it is 631 or 6633 Oakmont Drive, because if you have a fire, you're already going through enough trauma. You don't need the entire world to know your exact address. And the location will always be perfect, but in terms of what's on the screen, it'll say such and such block of. And we never publish injuries. That's also critical. Firefighter or civilian injuries, not relevant to what we're doing. We also don't publish causes of fire, which I know some people probably would like us to do, but we don't. Sorry about that. And then one of the key things is we always collaborate before publishing something, just to make sure that there are multiple people in the, talking within each other, within our Slack environment, to make sure that we are all verifying the exact same information. We all heard the same thing, and that we're ready to go. And even in the people who are working in the middle of the night with very few other people who are online, they will still go through the steps within our communications channel to say, I am preparing an incident, I am updating an incident, just to make sure everyone knows what is going on. It's really important to make sure we collaborate. I was going to tell you a little bit about the Sonoma County reporters, the names you see when you get an alert pops up. So I'll start. Most of the Sonoma County reporters were kind of there from the very beginning. So we have up in the hills of Cazadero, Damien Bonet. He is a mountain goat, off-grid. I mean, it probably takes him an hour to get to the Guerneville Safeway. He is just that far out. But he's was one of our original reporters. He runs a emergency site specific to Cazadero. And he also has actually joined WatchDuty as a full-time engineer, which is a great thing. And then in Guerneville, we have Josh Leone, who I think may even have some relatives in the neighborhood here. Josh is another one of our early reporters. He actually helps moderate my Facebook page and a few other Facebook pages related to Russian River activity, and all around great guy. We have Evan Jacobs, who I know knows Jeff. Evan is a volunteer firefighter in Grayton. He's also a college student. He's getting his an aeronautical degree in Montana. So he spends his summers in Sonoma County, and he spends his winters in school in Montana, going back and forth. And he's just one of those all-around good people who has run emergency communication sites on social media for a while, and it's become his passion, and he's getting a pilot's license, and will, I'm sure, go on to be a CAL FIRE pilot in the end. And then Cole Yukon is not in Sonoma County. He's in Lake County, but you see him reporting here quite a bit. Cole lives in, I think he's in Hidden Valley Lake, and he's a photographer in his spare time. He's a rodeo photographer specifically. He also takes lots of fire pictures. But, and then Nick Russell is in Petaluma. Nick is a former dairy farmer. He managed the largest dairy farm in Sonoma County for years and years. And then he joined WatchDuty as our VP of operations about a year and a half ago. And Nick's one of those things. I interviewed him when he first wanted to be a contributor, and then to have him just rise up, and he's really the spine of our whole operation. He's added so much amazing framework around what we do, and it's really great to have him. I'm sure the cows and the dairy farming community miss him, but I mean, he got into fires because he had to move huge, he, like, if there's a fire, he's got to move a lot of cattle, and then that became that's how he got involved. Okay, and then finally, the last person I was going to highlight is a newer name, but you'll see a bit of him, a guy by the name of Jeff Basham, who works for the County of Sonoma Public Infrastructure Department. And Jeff reached out and said, I want to volunteer, and he's been amazing. So he's been a reporter for about 4 or 5 months now. But yeah, those are the names you see. They're, wonderful community and engaged people behind them all. So I wanted to bounce down from Sonoma County to LA. You all remember January of this year, Los Angeles had some horrifying fires. We had the Palisades fire and the Eaton fire. And unfortunately, 29 lives were lost between those two fires, and 16,000 structures and thousands of acres were burned. So WatchDuty really rose to prominence during these fires from people not here in Sonoma County. um, we the first official evacuation order from authorities was issued 80 minutes after the first 911 call. Our first notification went out 2 minutes after the 911 call. It was a big deal. We saw the smoke. We looked at the wind. We knew what was bad things were about to happen. The other challenge with a lot of the government communications systems during that time, they had errant alerts set out to the wrong audience. So different phones in different parts of Los Angeles were, ringing and binging with government alerts. And then the government websites were crashing under the load of all the people going to read the alert. So the one thing I can say is WatchDuty, man, we had an opportunity we didn't know how well it was going to go, but for us, it actually went remarkably well in that we had zero downtime. Everyone would get these errant government alerts, then come to our WatchDuty. We never crashed, didn't have any issues. We have had 1 million new users a day in the early days of the fire, which is just insane. We became the #1 app nationwide during that time because everyone outside of California also wanted to know what was happening with these fires. So it was a really challenging but rewarding experience for us, and to see photos from the Los Angeles Emergency Operations Center, the second largest in the country. Giant screens. What's on the big giant screen? WatchDuty. What's on the other screens? Other things. But it was just daunting to say, wow, this is crazy. But we got, we had all these new users that had joined us. And with the new users, we got a lot of attention. Suddenly we were, I wouldn't say the butt of late night comedy, but we were getting name checked by comedians and others, across Los Angeles, which was something else. And then we had, I think, the most positive outcome. A lot of people said, wow, WatchDuty, I want to be a part of it. So we had a lot of people who reached out and with donations, and partnership offers and other things to help us continue to grow. So I will say the LA fires, as tragic as they were an amazing test for us. It was a test we didn't really want, but I'm glad we had it because we know how we're gonna go. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about the app itself. And most of you are users, so hopefully I won't bore you with any of it. But as you know, it's available for free on all phones, and also there's a web browser version as well. If you're tooling around on your computer, you can see it there. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. We don't have any advertising or sponsorship, and we don't have any government funding either. And we don't require any login or sign up. Just download it and set it, and you can forget it. We're not tracking any information. That's not our thing. And we just feel that situational awareness is such a critical thing that the public will make better decisions with more information, not less. So I hope that you realize that within your phone, you can see evacuation zones, fire perimeters, satellite hotspots, wind direction, air quality information, red flag warnings, the wildfire cameras, CHP cameras, and shelter locations. And if you end up giving us $25 a year, you can also watch the air tanker traffic, which I love. Watching the little spin. So one of the big surprises when we started WatchDuty was how we were embraced by the firefighting community. I mean, it was just like, we didn't expect that. CAL FIRE, not so much, but the firefighters on the ground, yes. CAL FIRE is still realizing that we're not going away. We've really made their public information officers probably work a little harder because WatchDuty is right there and we're sharing information. But the firefighting community, especially Northern Sonoma County firefighting, really been so supportive. And they started saying, well, it'd be great if we could have, they started requesting things within WatchDuty. We've learned that when people are being dispatched to a fire, all they have is the initial dispatch information, the address, and they don't necessarily know what they're getting into. And WatchDuty was very helpful when they're jumping into their engines to figure out what they're going to. So we've actually launched a pro version just for firefighters that includes lots of information that anyone can subscribe to it, by the way, but it has information that firefighters find useful, which is property ownership information, information about transmission lines and gas lines and electric lines, and other things. It's all right there in the pro version because they want to know what they're getting into. And that's been it was just very interesting to see how well received we were. We have a lot of key partnerships with other organizations. The wildfire camera folks have been amazing in terms of making sure that we have access to information. Broadcastify, which is a radio, it's a feed provider for scanner information. So I can be listening on my handheld scanner, or I can pull it up on the computer or on my phone. So Broadcastify is another a great partner to us. There have been a number of people who have been great partners and are providing more information or providing discounted services to us, which has been very lovely. Let's see, one other little surprise about WatchDuty is that in the early days, in 2022, in Monterey, we had a serial arsonist. And I was able to use the data we were gathering from WatchDuty to figure out where this guy was lighting these little fires. And so I mapped out that. And then with another woman from Monterey, she and I collected some money, and then we set up texting trail cameras all over Monterey. We had 50 of them set up. And ultimately, we did catch this guy 2 months later setting fires. And he is now sitting in Bakersfield in a cell, probably waiting to get out and look me up. Anyway, so it's been really interesting to see what we've been able to do with some of that information. All right, I'm going to say, Jeff, what about video number 2, which will tell us a little bit of how to get the most out of the app? So,
WatchDuty is an online service that alerts you to wildfires in your area. As a 501c3 nonprofit, no account is needed, and the service will always be free. Notifications for new fires and updates are sent based on your county. Adjust your notification settings at any time. Access the main menu from the top left. From here, update and test notification settings, add a place to the map like your home or office, or change the language. You can also become a member or submit an online tax-deductible donation. Control map styles and layers through the Layers menu. Fire perimeters, red flag warnings, and surface wind direction are our most frequently used layers. Some layers can only be seen when zoomed in. The Near Me button centers and zooms the map to your current location based on your device's GPS. The map legend provides definitions for elements and icons on the map. Pull up the search panel to display a list of all fires currently on screen. Alternatively, search with an address, place, or fire name to locate it on the map. Navigate the map with simple touch gestures. Drag with one finger to move around, and pinch to zoom in or out. Select certain map layers to display additional information, such as evacuation zones, fire perimeters, and red flag warnings. When layers overlap, easily navigate between them. WatchDuty displays 3 types of incidents: active fires, silent incidents, and prescribed burns. Active fires appear with a flame marker. Larger markers indicate more acres affected. As fire containment increases, the map marker color fades to gray, indicating the fire is 100% contained or inactive. Silent incidents are fires being monitored that haven't reached a notification threshold. For the more safety-conscious, notifications for silent incidents can be turned on from notification settings. Prescribed burns are implemented by fire officials under specific weather conditions. Scheduled prescribed burns are shown 48 hours before their planned start and do not trigger automatic notifications. Tap any incident marker for additional information. The incident view displays the fire name, approximate address, county, and when available, acreage and containment. For incidents that don't impact you, toggle the notifications button to start or stop receiving push notifications. Easily share links with friends and family to keep them informed. During active evacuations, official information appears along with evacuation shelter locations when available. Updates are displayed chronologically and include official information from local authorities. WatchDuty reporters strike a balance between keeping you informed without overwhelming you with notifications. Not all updates trigger notifications. Those that don't are shown with a crossed out bell. Any update containing evacuation or life-saving information will always send a notification. For additional resources and more information, please visit support.watchduty.org.
Did anyone learn anything from that? Yay! Thank you. So the one reason we have those silent notifications, as mentioned, that was because of feedback from Sonoma County specifically. Because in the early days when we were reporting all the fires and the barbecues, people said, "Oh, it's too much. It's just too much. We can't. You're stressing us out." So that's the silent notification was born. We've never really loved the name of it, but it basically just means you got a bunch of people monitoring. And we're paying attention, and it's very easy to flip the switch to say, okay, now you need to take some action. So I think the most critical thing is we will always be free. We feel like critical information is it's the heart of what we are as a community, and we will always be free. You're always welcome to join us at $25 a year. You're welcome to include us in your in your wills and trusts as well. But, just understand we're here for the community first and foremost. We're not a government tool, but I want to go back and remind you, I want you to sign up for Nixle. I want you to sign up for SoCo alerts. And just make sure you have those on your phone, because we are one of the tools in the toolbox. But you just never know what other tools you're going to need. We use all those tools. We use all those government tools, but we want to make sure that you have those also coming straight into your phone. In terms of the future of WatchDuty, our next steps, I think we're going to expand to the East Coast and capture the rest of those missing states. We're already interviewing and bringing people on to help with that. We are adding in the internal version that only the staff can see, we have river gauges. So we have river gauge information. So that is another one so you'll be able just to see and set alerts for when a particular river gauge is higher than your comfort level. So we've got a lot of really cool stuff coming. We will also be taking on other weather events. But the future is grand, and we're very glad we called it WatchDuty, not Fire Duty, because there's so much else out there. And I'll just say I really would encourage you to take advantage of the FireWise offers that are made here to go get that free conversation. At one point within Safer West County, we were calling it inspection. We realized that's not actually, don't use the word inspection. It's a conversation about what you might do to improve your home hardening and other vegetation management opportunities, shall we call it. So I'm going to close with a quote, which is, "An educated public will always respond more practically to an emergency," and that's straight from FEMA, and I believe that wholeheartedly. And I wanted to thank you very much for being a part of this. I was going to share the WatchDuty screen in the background in case questions come up, and I need to refer to it to share. So let's see what happens here. And with that, I welcome any questions you might have, but wait for the microphone to come around. All right.
Well, first, let's just say thank you for a wonderful presentation, for all you do to keep us safe.
First, I want to thank you for WatchDuty. I think it's a fabulous thing. One of the things I especially love about it is that one of the layers is for wind. So when the Pickett's fire was happening a few weeks ago, we could tell whether it was coming our direction or not. That was so useful. I did join, $25. I am so happy to pay that. And can you tell me what that supports because you're nonprofit, right?
We're a nonprofit. So
Yeah.
it's, as I said, we now have about 20 some odd staff. So that money goes towards paying staff. I mean, it's nonprofit payment, but we're paying staff. And then we also have a lot of expenses regarding to our infrastructure, server space and things like that, that all cost money. So, and the other thing that we do, which I didn't really touch on here, is there are a lot of areas within this country that don't have much reception in terms of scanner traffic. And we build these radio towers that we call echoes that we position in those dead areas. It's because if we can't hear, we can't help. So, each one of those echo towers costs about $2,000 to deploy. So every penny helps.
So you mentioned privacy. You mentioned privacy with reference to your app. And then you mentioned the fact that the pro version had property ownership information. So I'm wondering what is included in that property ownership information?
Just the stuff that the county provides. So you can get it from many sources. You can go straight to the county websites, but it does have, name and address and acreage for who owns the property. It's available publicly now, yes, but yes, so it's within, but yes, it's incorporated within the app. But in terms of privacy, we do not, we don't capture anything from your phone. We don't capture any information. We are not tracking you, any of that.
Are any of your volunteers in the air looking down on fires, reporting?
That's an interesting and sensitive question. We occasionally get a photo submitted from someone in the air that might be in a plane, that might be working for another agency. And of course, we're not going to use that because if there's someone, if they're working the fire, that's phenomenal, but we want them working the fire, not taking photos and submitting them. But you can, if you do see a photo in the upper corner of the, you are able, of the upper corner of your app, you'll see a little camera icon and you can take a photo and submit it if you see a fire, and it goes into what we call a monitoring queue, where we decide whether that photo is telling us anything. Is it just a picture of smoke, or is there something in the background that tells us something about fire behavior? So, yeah, to answer your question, none of our official volunteers are in the air looking down on fires. We do have a lot of official volunteers who have been, they've worked in fire lookouts, gone and had other fire watching experience. But yes, that's the answer to that particular question.
So looking back to your startup period, do you have any sense of what it costs to get the app up and running and get your program off the ground? That's one question. And the other one is, if you're interested in looking at fire progression, where the fire is spreading, what would you say is the best way to try and glean that from the app?
Well, that's where the pro model becomes helpful. But we do have fire progression modeling within the pro subscription, because they want to know where it's going. I mean, so within minutes after a fire starts, the fire progression models become visible within the app to the pro subscribers. To your earlier question, it was so scrappy back in our early days. It was just, everyone was volunteering, and it was really the early startup costs were largely borne by John Clark Mills. As I mentioned, he was a retired young tech guy trying to make a better world. I don't think he expected to put quite so much of his own money into it to make it work, but he did, and thank goodness he did. And then then we only moved to really accepting money in a formal way, I think in 2023. I mean, we would accept donation for sure, but it just wasn't, you weren't getting anything with that, if anything official with that donation besides the good warm feeling that you donated. So yeah, early days, I don't have the exact number, but we were pretty lean in those early days. We're still pretty lean. I mean, we're a scrappy startup is how I think of us now, but at least we have money in the bank and we can start to envision more. We have a long list of aspirations for what this app could be, what this organization could be.
My question is one of overnight wee hours of the morning monitoring. We here at Oakmont have an emergency preparation committee that will trigger an overnight monitoring on our radio system in 3-hour shifts if we have red flag warning, particularly dangerous situation, or a fire that's upwind of us. And what we rely on WatchDuty to do the same. What is the criteria that you trigger your reporters to stay up overnight?
We always have, every day, we have an overnight reporter. One of our secret weapons is a guy named Michael Sylvester who lives in New Zealand. Guess what time it is in New Zealand? I don't know, but it's not this time. So Michael has been reporting on fire since long before WatchDuty. He was doing it for other organizations and also did it on Twitter. And Michael's our secret sauce. So he is up all night and there's a handoff. Around 5 in the morning, you see Michael say, "Hey, I'm fading away," and someone else, he hands the baton over. Also, when we have a lot of fires going on, we actually have 2 more people who have picked up the overnight shift. So Michael's not just talking to himself in the middle of the night. But yeah, we always have an overnight shift. So because you just don't know. You don't know what's going to happen.
I want to thank you for your work and what you guys are doing. Having been through the 2017 Tubbs fire, having to bring in horses and people, it was a mess. And I appreciated all the help that the community brought together to make us all survive that. It was amazing. And Nixle was helpful then, but when I moved to Arizona, Nixle wasn't there. And we moved out into the desert and a fire started. We were terrified. We had PTSD from here. There was nothing. There was nothing for us to get information. So we just started to pack and get ready to go. We knew what to do. When we came back and I found out about WatchDuty, I can't tell you what a relief it was to know that I could go to sleep and not worry. And for that, I'll tell you, I've been using it for free. I'm definitely going to be donating.
Awesome.
You implied some reluctance on behalf of CAL FIRE in sharing information. Maybe you can explain that a little bit?
Really depends where this video is going to go after this presentation. CAL FIRE, individuals within CAL FIRE are very supportive, but CAL FIRE, the organization, has had some challenge because they fear that we're, initially they would say, well, you're not reporting official information. I was like, well, that's all we do is official information. But yeah, I think, honestly, I feel they felt somewhat threatened that, here's a bunch of volunteers who are sharing, sharing information about fires, and they wanted to own that. So I'll leave it at that so I don't overstep too much further. All right, that one in the back.
So I think it's wonderful that you're now monitoring the level of rivers, but I'm wondering what the role of WatchDuty might be after an earthquake.
We're figuring that out. So that's one thing. Anytime, there is a natural disaster, it's a test case for us to try and figure out how we would deal with it. So tsunamis, earthquakes, all those things are all in the cards for us to try and figure out how to share information and how to get, how to make it useful. That's the most important thing. How do you make it useful? So with river information, perfect example. I'm in Monterey. I'm across the street from the Russian River. I care. Someone up in the hills in Healdsburg, they don't care. So what's important to me is, okay, a tree has just gone down because of a bit of a mudslide, and now I'm trapped. Those are really important things to me, and why I have a chainsaw in my car for 4 months out of the year. But it's hard to figure out how localized to make it. And that's one of our challenges. So winters are a great test case for us to sort out what else we're going to cover and how to cover it efficiently.
I'm amazed at the response time from the fire departments and CAL FIRE, the planes, the trucks, at how quick that response time is. Has WatchDuty had anything to do with that improving?
I'd love to say yes. No, I can't say that. CAL FIRE has they have become amazing at just getting the resources out there, getting planes up, watching planes turn on live within the app. You can watch them. They're sitting on the tarmac at STS, and then suddenly they go from gray to purple because they are now activated. They're still on the tarmac, just knowing that they've got an amazing response crew. And they're kind of throwing everything on it because they don't, we all learned the hard way what happens when you don't. So I love our CAL FIRE and our local firefighting crews because they have been very responsive to make sure nothing goes too crazy.
So this is more of a thank you than anything else. I do live somewhat on watch duty during this time of year, but I have a sister in Reno, and she's in a wheelchair. She lives alone, and she listens to me. And when they had the big fires in the south of Reno that came within a mile of her house, okay, we were constantly on watch duty. And I love the ability to watch the report that would come out in the morning when the official person would stand up and say, okay, let me explain what's happening. And I could listen to it just by click. And then I was on. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So I'm just going to use that as an opportunity to say, we highlighted it a little bit in that video, but you can set a place that you care about. You can select a county that you care about to get alerts that is not here. So especially if you're traveling, you go back and forth between different places, pick multiple counties. You can have, I think you get 4 free counties, and you can move them around. So like, for instance, if you're going on vacation, taking a road trip, change out your counties. And then when you come back to Sonoma County, go back to what you care about most critically. So yeah, you can set those county alerts, and I encourage you to change them up as often as you want.
I've never understood containment. Can you explain containment?
Containment is a literal line around the fire. So containment can be achieved a number of different ways. Usually, we might start with a hose lay around the fire, where there's literally a hose around the fire, and then it might become a dozer line, a bulldozer, like 6 feet wide, or maybe it's multiple bulldozer in a row, maybe 18, 30 feet wide. Or containment can also be achieved with a hand crew. And there's a number of hand crews. You'll hear like the Canocti hand crew, Delta hand crew. Those are hand crews of people who are out there doing the hardest work in the world, literally digging and picking a line around the fire. So the containment line refers to what percentage has a line. The fire might still be burning in the middle, but it's not gonna jump. Containment can also be, like, sometimes a road might be considered a containment line because it's not gonna, at this point, they know that it's not gonna jump the road, not gonna jump a river, whatever it might not. It's something the fire cannot jump anymore. So that's containment.
And where do you get those percentages?
We get those percentages straight from CAL FIRE or other official sources.
Not your volunteers?
No, we do not issue evacuations. We do not make up containment numbers.
Yes, I wanted to thank you and let you know I also sleep better because of watch duty. I would sleep even better if more people in Oakmont were aware of what they could do to protect their home, so that when they come back with their go bag in hand, their house is still there. So we just want to educate people. There are small things you can do. The percentage that we have of Firewise assessments in Oakmont of homeowners who've asked for them, it's all volunteer, is 30%. We'd like to get to 60%. If we get to a higher percentage, the statistics show that we won't have another coffee park here in Oakmont. So if you haven't had an assessment, I would please recommend that you think about doing that, and you could sign up here.
And you can sign up right at that table as you're going out. Other questions?
I have a question.
When we see that we're going to have a lot of building going on the Highway 12 corridor, is your organization invited in at the time of planning? For instance, the CDC or the Hannah Boy Center build out. Are you brought in early?
No, we're not really a part of the permitting side of things or the planning side of things. So that's a permit Sonoma, challenge.
Yeah.
And I do hope they're taking evacuation routes into consideration, but it's, I can't, I would not say with 100% certainty that they are.
Okay. Questions?
As I'm listening to you, I'm thinking of all the amazing people that do this volunteering. How can we best thank them?
Well, I'm going to send them a picture of all of you with WatchDuty loaded on your phones. 153 happy people. No, we have you can go to support@watchduty.org. You can go to our website, or you can just say support@watchduty.org as an email and send a nice word. People would love it. I mean, we all see all the support tickets, and sometimes it's, actually they need some sort of tech support, but a thank you over there is very, 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 very well received as well. So support@watchduty.org.
And who set up all those cameras on the mountainsides and that you used that I can access on WatchDuty?
University of San Diego is at the back end of most of those cameras. And there's been a little bit of switch out over the years as to what university's been most involved. But yeah, all those cameras are operated under one umbrella, which is great. And then different states are also, California has an amazing number of wildfire cameras, and different states are now joining in on that. And also within WatchDuty, let's see if I can make this happen. You can also click on, let's just go to, let's go center us. Here I'm centering us where we are. Now I'm going to go out a little bit. So there are also, turn on a layer, hang on, I need some wildfire cameras. Here we go. There are all these little blue dots on 101. Those are the CHP cameras. So if you want to know what traffic looks like as you're driving somewhere, guess what? You've got all these CHP cameras.
Wow.
And then if you want to...
So if you click on one of those blue dots, you'll get to see what current traffic
Yeah,
is
that's
like?
current traffic.
Oh.
So now if we care about the actual wildfire cameras, I'm going to go over here to one of my favorites. This looks like my friend Mount Jackson. So look what a beautiful day in Sonoma County. Look at that. And then we'll go to Siri. Siri's looking at my house right now. So we'll go to her. And there's Siri. So it's like, here's a fun thing. Look for sunsets on the wildfire cameras. It's spectacular.
Wow.
Sunsets and sunrises. You don't even have to get out of bed. It's just right there. You can just look at your phone going, oh, look at that. So they're all right there. You can see them. You can also share directly. If you want to share the link to that camera, just click that share button and send it to whoever you like.
Sarah, I didn't see any cameras in Annandale, and that's sort of a problem area for us. Is there a way that either we could buy some cameras to put up there, or I don't know. I'm just asking because it seems like that's a very important area for us.
That's a question for UC San Diego or an Alert California to say, hey, we notice that there's not. So I would a note to Alert California saying, hi, we would like to know what it would take to get cameras in Annandale. That would be amazing. Or one other thing I'm going to mention, just because I'm right here, is that apparently there's a giant outage, a power outage in Occidental. I don't know why, but all that yellow means that we've gotten information from PG&E saying there's a power outage. So this can save you a click someday when your power goes out and you're wondering what's happening. Just click on the yellow on your phone or whatever, and it'll say it's been out for 40 minutes. There's 2,300 people affected, and there is no restoration time. Sorry, Occidental. But yeah, so there's all sorts of great stuff just hidden within the app, and take advantage of it.
Speaking of PG&E, I was under the impression that they had put a bunch of cameras out over the last few years.
They do have cameras, and sometimes you will see a reference to a PG&E camera. I'm trying to figure out which one, but they do have some cameras out there. PG&E has been contributing quite well to wildfire suppression efforts. thankfully. So they have cameras. They've been putting a lot of money towards cameras and other things. Yeah.
Can you show us the closest cameras to Oakmont on the screen?
Sure. So here we are. I'm going to go to this near me click. I'm going to click that. That's going to bring me, there we go, bring me back to where I am. Here we are in Oakmont. Now I'm just going to go out a little bit so you can see me go. So here I have cameras over here. They're facing the different direction at the moment, but the Kenwood Ranch has 2 cameras. Each arrow next to that camera means it's a different view. So usually there's one closer, one farther. So you've got Kenwood Ranch. You've got this also out here. You've got Bald Mountain and Napa. We have a Zinfandel camera 1 and 2. And sometimes you'll see the arrow is moving around. So see this, watch this little arrow up top. It's moving because the camera is on rotation. It is looking for wildfire. So the camera goes around, around, around looking for wildfire. And if it sees something, then we get an alert and other people get an alert that there's something suspicious that we should follow up on. But anyway, so you can see there's a handful to the east of you. And then north, we've got a couple more. So you've got a handful, and then there's a whole mess over at the airport that are looking at a variety of things. So if we're right here where my hand is, you can see you've got a handful around. And these cameras have a huge view range. You know, it's 15, 20 miles for some of them.
There is a camera on North Sonoma Mountain that looks north towards Annandale. So if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see it. That one right there.
Right there.
And one of the other ones.
All right, there's Osborne.
There.
There's Sonoma Mountain.
That one, yeah.
So right now, it's facing towards Glen Ellen. But yeah, all these cameras rotate. So you can do a quick, it'll give you the last 15 minutes of video as to what the camera was seeing, which is great if you're trying to track the back track of fire.
Is a lot of the data that is being observed by these cameras interpreted by AI, which then informs the volunteers?
Yes, so we'll get an alert that the camera senses something. And then a human goes in and says, is it real? So yeah, so and that's happening, day and night. It's, better, let's say, better accuracy during the day than at night, because I don't know if you look at these wildfire cameras at night, it's just a lot of lights and it's hard to tell sometimes what's going on. But yeah, so it's all we're using AI to our advantage, but it's always a human involved.
And I think you said there are 20 paid volunteers. And how many other volunteers do you have, say, in the state of California?
That's a good question. California, I would say we probably have 80 to 100. In California, so obviously we started here, so we've got a lot of people.
Any prediction when WatchDuty will be available east of the Mississippi River?
We do a lot of things in the winter, so I am hoping that by next spring, we've already have contributors in Massachusetts, New York, North Carolina, which is right. We want to pull more people in, because the more people that have local knowledge about something, the more useful we are. I mean, I can report something in North Carolina, but it's much better if someone in North Carolina is doing it. Here's the perfect example: when something catches fire in certain parts of Santa Rosa, let's say it's the Joe Rodata Trail. I know probably it's an encampment, but I'm going to pay full attention, but it's probably an encampment fire. And now having that bit of local knowledge to know what kind of fire you're dealing